Hello and welcome to the channel. As always, like the video, and if you enjoyed the story, leave a comment on if you would want more. This fan fiction was not created by me, but in the description there is a link to the fanfic so you can show your support to the creator and read along. Without any more delay, let's dive into the story.
Finally home. Naruto shouted cheerfully as the massive green gates of Konoha came into sight. I had finally gotten used to thinking, is this place like home, so it also filled me with relief and a sense of safety. Funny how humans adapt so quickly. Yash. To celebrate a mission success, I will run 5 laps around Konoha on my hands. And if I can't do that, I will climb the Hokage mountain with only one hand. Lee also shouted from beside the blonde as Guy followed it up with a challenge of his own. The three of them had bonded well, unsurprisingly. Probably only because they alone had the energy to keep up with each other's youthfulness. Goddamn, I was spending way too much time around these crackheads. Now that the wave mission had ended, I could finally relax a little bit and focus fully on training and learning new shinobi skills. As far as I remember, the only thing after this was the Chunin exams. At least, until the 3-year-long break. Kakashi, I said, turning my head to look at the elite Jonin. He hummed, showing as little interest as possible, and I mentally scowled. I understood that he was supposed to be the cool, aloof, genius type of guy, but would it kill him to be a little bit serious sometimes? Stupid dumbass. How long do we have till the Chunin exams? I asked. Assumed that finally got his attention since he turned his eyes from the little orange book to me. Ready for more action already, Sasuke? Kakashi asked mirthfully. No, I just want to plan out my training, I wanted to reply but held back my tongue. Yeah, sure. Let's go with that, I said instead, implying that it's not the reason I asked, but was content with letting him believe it. Kakashi kept a smile on his face and stared at me for a second before replying. I think it's in about 4 months, but I don't know if I'll even nominate you 3, he said and kept his eye on me, most likely to gauge my reaction. I see. Thank you, I said and turned my head again to look at the road. 4 months. That should be more than enough for me to master the Rasengan, hopefully. And depending on that, I may also be able to teach it to Naruto and Sakura. Moreover, using the Rasengan as a bargaining chip, I may even be able to make Naruto teach me the Shadow Clone Jutsu. I probably won't be able to use it to learn techniques and stuff like Naruto does, but I may be able to learn Fuin Jutsu. We'll see, though. As for the Chunin exams, I don't know if I even want to participate. I understand that it's held to show different clients the power and potential of each of the ninja forces, but I still find it pointless. Why would I want to reveal my skills to potential enemies? I feel bad for Naruto and Sakura not being able to take the exam because of me, but I'll try to make them understand. If they still insist, I'll have to figure out a counter for Orochimaru, and then drop out right before the prelims after making it through the Forest of Death. The journey through the gate and the streets of Konoha was a normal one. Well, as normal as it could get. Naruto still walked at the front with Lee and Guy. A bit behind them was Sakura and Tenten conversing about weapons, surprisingly, and which one would be best for Sakura's body shape and fighting style. Right behind was Neji, occasionally adding a few words of advice to Sakura and Tenten, and quite some distance behind them were Kakashi and me. Naruto joked and laughed boisterously, but I could clearly see how strained it felt. Lee likely hadn't noticed the glares and dirty looks if his continued enthusiasm was any evidence. The other genin were a bit behind them and also remained ignorant of the situation, while Kakashi and Guy were professional enough to not let it bother them. I guess this is the perfect chance to bring up the topic. You know, I began quietly, eyes staring at Naruto's back. I could feel Kakashi's eyes slowly drift to me. It's a surprise he still manages to stay loyal to this shithole, I said. Heard a snap and couldn't help but look upwards. Kakashi had snapped his book shut and was staring at me, daring to go on. Mentally smirking, I took a step away from him and put a wary expression on my face. Man. I said a bit loudly to get everyone else's attention too. Don't look at me like that, bruh, I don't swing that way. Nah. I said. My face changed to a thinking pose. And I'm pretty sure student-teacher relationships are forbidden too, I added, squinting my eyes. Looked ahead, breaking eye contact with the Jonin and trying my hardest to not start rolling on the ground in laughter. Sakura was looking at Kakashi with visible fear as if she expected him to try and steal me away from her. Naruto, Tenten, and Miji looked at him in a mixture of fear and disgust. Lee just looked confused. And Guy. Oh, I fucking loved the look of disbelief on his face. Kakashi. Guy said slowly. And that did it. It was laughter that came from my lungs. One that absolutely robbed me of my breath. I'm sorry, I said, clutching my stomach. This was too hilarious. After a few seconds, I finally got my breathing under control and we continued on our way. I could see all the others let out a breath of relief, Guy mainly, which made me question a lot of things, but that small prank felt awesome. As we kept walking towards the Hokage Tower, Kakashi finally spoke. I don't know which issue to address first. Your pranks, or what you said about this place being a shithole, he said. Scoffed. If you don't know whether to give priority to a slight to your dignity and authority, or address a potential flight risk, that alone speaks volumes about the kind of shinobi you are, I replied. Kakashi exhaled. Very well then, he said. Let's talk about what you said before. What part? Your exact words were, it's a surprise he still manages to stay loyal to this shithole. What did you mean by that? Kakashi asked. Smiled. He was finally getting used to arguing with me. This will be fun. I meant what I said. Who did you mean by he in that sentence? Naruto Uzumaki, I replied. And by shithole, you meant? Kakashi asked. Kanahagakure no Sato. So then why would you say it's a surprise that Naruto manages to stay loyal to Konoha? Kakashi asked. Look around, I replied simply. Look at all the civilians and even some shinobi glaring at the kid as if he was a demon or something. Lord knows what he did, but I don't think any prank could possibly be that bad to warrant such a treatment from the entire village. I paused. Hell, I don't think even the Kyuubi would get this much continuous hate. Kakashi stayed silent, contemplating my words. You sound almost as if you know why they hate him so much, he said after a few long seconds. I wish I did, I replied. Are you saying you do not? Kakashi asked. I do not know why the villagers hate Naruto so much. Kakashi once more stayed silent for a bit before he spoke again. But you have some theories, he stated. Yes. Now, this was getting fun. I may. May I hear them? No. As your Jonin sensei, I am ordering you to tell me, he said. What? That was cheating, damn it. Actually, you know what? Fine. If he wants to play it like that, then so be it. Well, I started speaking as loudly as possible. Seeing as how Naruto's birth, I was immediately interrupted by Kakashi's gloved hand clamping over my mouth. His grip over my face was strong as hell and I couldn't even move back since he was holding me against him. We'll talk about this later. For now, stay quiet. That's an order, he said. Yes. I win. I nodded and he let me go. I smiled widely at my victory and relished in Kakashi's annoyed look. This was just too much fun. When we reached the central tower, Kakashi and Guy sent us to pick up our mission pay while they went to the Hokage office for their mission debrief. So, what's the plan? I asked as we exited the place after picking up a hefty sum for the A rank. Ugh, I'm just going to go home and take a shower, Sakura said, running a hand through her hair. I'm also going to do the same. Then maybe stop by Ichiraku's for some dinner, Naruto said, followed by, you guys want to join me? I won't be able to since I have to have dinner with my parents today. Sorry, Naruto, Sakura said with an apologetic smile. It's all right. No sweat. Naruto replied with a grin, but I didn't miss the disappointed tone in his voice. I'll probably join you later, I said, and he immediately perked up at that. But first, I continued, I need to talk to you both, I said with seriousness. Naruto and Sakura looked at me expectantly. I formed a sweat drop. Not here. Let's go somewhere private. Stood, leaning against a tree in one of the forests of Konoha, while Sakura sat on one of the branches. What is it, Sasuke-kun? Sakura asked, and Naruto looked at me questioningly from where he stood. Breathed in deeply and then exhaled, preparing for what was about to happen. You guys remember the date of the Kyuubi attack? I asked. Immediately, I saw Naruto stiffen a bit whereas Sakura merely looked confused. About 12 years ago, right? Sakura asked. The exact date, I said. October 10th. Surprisingly, it was Naruto who replied. And when is your birthday, Naruto? I asked with an emotionless face. I could visibly see Naruto's breath hitch. Couple of silent seconds later, he smiled. A smile I've never seen before. A sad one that held tremendous pain. On a level that I probably couldn't even imagine. He smiled as if to say it was fun while it lasted, and that broke me. I walked towards him quickly and harshly grabbed his shoulders with both of my hands, forcing him to look me in the eyes. I don't know what you're thinking, I said, but whatever it is, stop it. Huh? He asked intelligently. You, Sakura, and even Kakashi to an extent. You guys are the closest thing I have to family right now, and I'll walk through hell before I'll let you feel like you've been abandoned, I said, meaning every single word. So I don't know what you're thinking of the Sharingan can't read minds, but whatever it is, just stop it, and speak to us. Heard a branch rustle behind me and a light thud signaled Sakura jumping off her spot, onto the ground. Tell us what you have to, Naruto, I spoke, a little more subdued. Just because a kunai is sealed into a scroll, it does not make the scroll a kunai, I said, mainly to make Sakura understand what was about to be said. Naruto's eyes widened as he looked at me in surprise. I smiled softly and let go of him. Please, I pleaded. Just talk to us. And Naruto? Sasuke-kun? What's going on? Sakura asked from behind me. Let's just listen to what Naruto has to say, I said to her, taking a step back. Seeing our expectant eyes fall on him, Naruto inhaled deeply before he started talking. In the academy, he started. The sensei always taught us that the Yondaime killed the Kyuubi when it attacked Konoha, he paused. That's a lie, he declared. What? Sakura asked. What do you mean that's a lie? The sensei lied to us? Not on purpose. They were probably bound by law, I answered and nodded for Naruto to continue. When I failed the graduation exam and was sitting on the swing, Mizuki team came to me and told me he had a special assignment for me, which by completing, I would become a genin. Sakura looked confused at where this was going. He told me to sneak into the Hokage Tower at night and steal the Scroll of Sealing. What's the Scroll of Sealing? Sakura asked. It wasn't a surprise that she didn't know. A scroll that is stored in the Hokage Tower that has some of the most powerful jutsus ever made. Mostly invented by the Nidaime Hokage, I answered. Naruto nodded at me, thanking me for explaining and continued telling his story, looking off into the trees as he spoke. I, being the idiot I am, believed him and stole it. I got to the place that Mizuki told me to come to with the scroll and sat down to learn a jutsu. That's where I learned the Shadow Clone. He took a deep breath as if to steel himself to continue with the story. Then, Iruka-sensei came to me and I thought I passed. I was so happy. Head, Naruto laughed. A sound that I'd never thought I'd hear coming from him. It was a harsh self-deprecating one that would hurt you to the core if you heard it. It turned out that Mizuki was a traitor and was only using me to get his hands on the scroll. Iruka-sensei told me about that. Mizuki tried to attack me, and Iruka-sensei jumped in the way and protected me. That's when Mizuki revealed it. The village-wide secret that no one is supposed to speak of, yet almost everyone knows. Naruto looked at us and I felt my chest squeeze at the tortured look in his sky-blue eyes. Did you know that beings like the Kyuubi are actually just constructs of chakra and cannot actually be killed? From my peripheral vision, I could see Sakura widening her eyes in surprise before narrowing them once more in confusion. They can only be sealed. And inanimate objects are not strong enough to withstand the sealing of such massive amounts of chakra. As such, only living beings can hold the tailed beasts, Naruto said, and I saw Sakura's mouth slowly open at the influx of this new information. The Yondaime sealed the Kyuubi into a newborn baby. That was me. Naruto chuckled, but it sounded hollow. So the next time you wonder why the villagers hate me and glare at me, well, now you know, he finished and once again smiled sadly. Couple of seconds passed in silence before I spoke. I don't know how you do it, I said, making sure to convey the massive amount of respect I felt towards the blonde. But you have my utmost respect for living through the idiotic hate of the villagers and not turning to hate yourself. Sasuke. Naruto said, speechless. If someone asked me to tell them a key point about my personality, one of the main ones would be that I don't bow or kneel. Ever. To anyone. Not unless it's a mocking one where everyone knows that I don't mean it. I don't bow or kneel to anyone except my parents, and God if such a being exists. And so, in front of this young man who deserved my utmost respect, I bowed. A full bow where my upper body was parallel to the ground. Thank you, Naruto, I said as I stood up once again. Thank you for keeping the village safe. Thank you for being Konoha's shield every single day. Thank you so very much for not turning to violence, despite the hate you suffer every second you're in the village. From the bottom of my heart, Naruto, thank you, I said and smiled at him. Naruto tried to say with eyes wide as saucers. He clearly didn't expect this. And Naruto, Sakura said, holding her hand over her mouth as a few tears spilled out of her emerald eyes. I'm so sorry. I had no idea what you were going through, and I bullied you so much. I can't believe it, she said in disgust and sobbed. No. Sakura-chan. It's okay. Naruto said quickly, waving his hands around to placate her. No, Naruto, it's not, I said. Naruto looked at me confusedly and Sakura looked down in shame. We both mistreated you all through the academy years when you only wanted a few friends. And for that, I also deeply apologize. Please forgive us, I said. Yeah guys, for sure. No sweat. Don't worry about it, Naruto said, on the verge of tears himself. Thinking about it, I might have been a bit annoying too. He chuckled as he wiped his eyes with his sleeve. Smiled fondly as once more, our team's bond grew a little stronger. After calming down Sakura and lightening the mood a little bit, Naruto and I walked her home. Once she entered her house, we also got on our way to Naruto's home. Sasuke? Naruto asked once we were close to his apartment. I said. How did you know? Naruto asked me. Because I've watched your entire life in the form of an anime, I wanted to say but I have a weird feeling that might have raised some flags. I shrugged. It's really not that hard. I knew you pranked people through that village, but that still shouldn't get you that much hate. So I wondered what it was about you. I did a little digging and concluded that somehow you were related to the Kyuubi, I explained, hoping he wouldn't ask anymore. Oh, Naruto said quietly. Naruto? I called out once we reached his apartment and he looked at me. Don't ask me how, I began, making sure to tell him I don't want him asking how I got the knowledge, but I heard that you've been having trouble buying your food and equipment and stuff and you're getting overcharged for it. Is that true? I asked. I made sure to ask this first before offering anything since the only place I remembered reading about this was in fanfics and never in canon, though I might have just forgotten it. Naruto's eyes widened in surprise once more before he looked down sadly. Why yeah. It's only the Ichiraku ramen stand that doesn't look at me like I'm a demon, he said. I can't even use a hench to buy things because the seals in the shop doorways disrupt your chakra flow every time you walk through them, he said with a small scowl. Nodded. Well, from now on, if you ever need to buy something from somewhere, just give me a list and when I go to get my groceries, I'll go get your things for you too, if you want, I offered. Really? Naruto asked in disbelief. You'd do that? Chuckled at his enthusiasm. Yeah, sure thing, man. And I'll ask Sakura too if she'd be willing to help. After all, we are a team, right? I asked with a small smile. Eh? Huh, I guess you're right, Naruto said, rubbing the back of his head. Thanks, Sasuke. Waved him off. Don't worry about it. It's the least I could do, I said. He looked like he wanted to say something, so I paused before saying goodbye. Naruto scratched his cheek with a finger and looked to the side as he said, Why I can bring some home-cooked lunch for you for our training sessions. He quickly put his hands up and waved, adding, Only if you want though if you think it won't be good enough, that's okay too, but… Naruto, I said, seeing that he was starting to ramble on. I'd love to have your home-cooked lunches, I replied, deciding to not show my surprise at the fact that he actually knew how to cook. Naruto grinned widely. Awesome, he yelled, making me laugh too. Anyway, it's getting late. I'm gonna head home now, alright? I said, holding out my fist. Naruto grinned widely and fist bumped me. Alright, see you tomorrow, Sasuke, he said with a wide smile and climbed the stairs to his apartment. Was currently in my room in the Uchiha clan compound with a rubber ball in my hand. Although after the massacre, the Hokage had given me an apartment, I still had to pay the rent for it from the monthly orphan stipend that I received. And what more, the apartment building itself was owned by the government of Konoha. This meant that the Hokage only had to give me a small amount of money as the rest of the building would just automatically flow back into Konoha's treasury. That was the moment I realized that Hiruzen was a fucking rat bastard. Fuck that stupid dickhead. As soon as I had found that out, I had immediately moved back into my clan grounds. Yeah, it was pretty far and secluded, but I didn't care about that. If anything, that just made it easier for me to keep my activities a secret. So now, I was in my room, rubber ball in my hand, trying to blow this shit up by overloading the spinning chakra in it. Even though I had just gotten it a few hours ago after leaving Naruto's place, I was already pretty close to popping it. The rubber ball stretched and shook violently but didn't pop yet. That was evidence that I was close but just didn't have enough chakra to overload it completely. Disappointed at another failed attempt, I set the ball down with a sigh and went to the backyard to start my workout that I did every other night. 5 sets of 10 push-ups, different types of sit-ups, pull-ups, muscle-ups and burpees with breaks of about 5 minutes in between. 5 sets of a minute of different types of planks. 3 sets of 50 punches, kicks, and different hand-to-hand combat techniques. And finally, 5 kilometers of intense running. It was when I had finally finished that last exercise that an ANBU operative with a bear mask had body flickered right behind me. Sasuke Uchiha, he spoke. Aha! I screamed, and threw 5 kunai at him, having the absolute living shit scared out of me. The ANBU deftly dodged each one of them and looked unperturbed. Don't do that, you stupid fucking dickhead. I yelled at him. I was shirtless, damn it. I needed some privacy. I need you to come with me, he said professionally. Nah, fuck you. Fuck off, you expired piece of oatmeal. Go suck a dick. I said, angrily. I need you to come with me, he said once again with an edge to his voice. I need you to come with me, shut the fuck up, I said, mocking him. Bitch, I added, squinting my eyes. If you want me to come with you, go to my front door, knock, then wait till I answer, I demanded. Bitch, I added once more. Dickhead, just for extra measure. Yeah, I know. I know exactly what I'm doing, and exactly who I'm speaking to, but I don't give a shit. They're gonna make me go with them either way. I might as well have some fun. And I'm not too worried about them hurting me. I was a clan heir. Clan privileges. The ANBU pulled out a piece of rope from somewhere and held it up. Sasuke Uchiha, the Hokage, and your Jonin sensei demand your presence. Right now. The Hokage can come here and get me if he wants to talk to me, I said. Let's not let him forget that I'm the Uchiha clan heir. Yay for politics, am I right? And as for Kakashi, I said. He can come here and suck my balls. The ANBU looked at a loss for words. I took the chance to take a look around with my Sharingan and counted 7 other ANBU on rooftops. AYYO, I said, mind blown, and spoke to the rooftop ANBU. What the actual shit? The Hokage sent 2 whole-ass squads of ANBU for me, a genin. How strong do y'all think I am? Or do you guys just not have anything better to do? Looked at the ANBU standing in front of me. Oi! I said, trying to see into the holes in his mask. You alive in there, bud? I asked and jabbed my thumb at my house before he could answer. Fuck outta here and go knock, I said, cocking my head toward the front door. The ANBU looked at one of the rooftop ANBU, presumably his captain. I looked in the direction too, and I saw one of them, the one with the tiger mask, nod. Instantly, I jumped back and just missed the bear mask's hand. Nah, fuck off, mate. I said as I tried to run into the house. I knew it was impossible. There's no way I could possibly outrun or outmaneuver freaking ANBU. But I decided to have some fun. I was not to be, as before I even got half a step ahead, I found myself on the ground, with my mouth full of grass. Sasuke Uchiha, you are under arrest, the ANBU said. The tone was mostly emotionless, but I could hear just a hint of smugness in it. Yeah, fuck you, I said and resigned myself to being carried to wherever they took me. The ANBU tied me up all while being showered by my insults and threw me over his shoulder. Forgot that I still had my Sharingan activated, and because of that, I saw the small buildup of chakra for a body flicker. I smiled deviously and pushed my own chakra out from my stomach into his shoulder, disrupting his flow and cancelled his technique. Ha! The ANBU sighed. Let me go shower and put on a clean set of clothes, and I'll come with you willingly, I offered with a smirk. Bear Mask picked me up and put me on the ground. I smiled the smug SpongeBob smile as I looked at him. He took out a slip of paper and slapped it on the forehead. Ow! I said, annoyed at the little shit. Bear Mask picked me up once more, and I realized he had slapped on a chakra suppression seal on my forehead. Two can play that game, bitch. I said and started screaming. Loud. Aoha. I yelled right into his ear as loud as possible. I'd let chakra flow to my throat if I were sure it wouldn't blow my neck out. But I wasn't sure, so I didn't. I continued yelling into the ANBU's ear. Once again, the guy put me down, and before I could say anything, he stuffed my mouth with a piece of cloth. MMM. I tried to yell, but couldn't. I tried moving around as much as possible, but he merely tightened his grip on me. Finally, I felt the nauseating lurch of movement a few times and we were inside the Hokage's office. The ANBU set me down on a chair and I glared at him with all my might. Funnily enough, glaring was much easier than smiling, I realized. Probably because Sasuke's natural habits were to brood and glare. Ahem, the sound of a throat clearing came and I looked around the room. Sitting behind the Hokage's desk was Hiruzen Sarutobi himself. Standing on his right was Kakashi the asshole, he was probably the one who made this happen. And standing on the Hokage's left were Ibiki and Anko. Oh, just fucking great. Fuck all of you shit maggots. I tried to say, but it came out more like, INH, fun fufen gun. Fun on a OUMMH mafa. All of them regarded me with wide eyes for a second before turning their attention to the ANBU. He resisted, Hokage-sama, the bear mask said. Fuck you. I tried to say, which came out as, fun femem. Ungag him please, Kuma, the Hokage said, and the ANBU immediately pulled out the cloth from my mouth. Ugh, I groaned, moving my jaw to make it feel back to normal again. Would you please repeat what you said, Sasuke-kun? The Hokage asked with a smile. Of course, Hokage-sama, I replied with just as much niceness. I said, good evening, to all you fine shinobi. Anko snorted but was immediately shut up by Ibiki's glance. I can tell when someone is lying, Sasuke-kun, the Hokage said, with the same smile plastered on his face. Just like any half-decent shinobi should be able to, Hokage-sama, I said, my expression mirroring his. I don't like it when people lie to me, Sasuke-kun, he said in the same way. Neither do 99% of the people on this planet, Hokage-sama, I replied, smiling. The Hokage stopped smiling and looked at me with a deadly serious expression. Sasuke, you are under suspicion of espionage and treason, he said, and I started laughing my guts out. You, what the fuck? Espionage. Treason. I laughed harder. Where's the evidence? How the hell would you suspect me of that? I asked amusedly. This is not a joke, Sasuke, Kakashi said with a serious voice. PSH, Konoha's justice system itself is a big fucking joke, I said. I turned my head to the left, looking at the ANBU who carried me here. Oh, and you, I said, scowling at him. You're a bitch. Saw his shoulder twitch and Anko snorted, holding a hand over her mouth and looking to the side to hide her laughter. The subtle shaking of her shoulders easily gave it away though. Schooled my expression on one of seriousness and spoke again. Hokage-sama, I need to tell you something important, I said. Hiruzen nodded. This guy, I said, gesturing to the ANBU with my chin. He's a bitch. Ha! I heard Ibiki and Kakashi sigh at once while Anko quickly excused herself from the office. Kuma, you're dismissed. Send in links, the Hokage ordered, and the ANBU immediately disappeared. A couple of seconds later, another ANBU with long purple hair body flickered in. Hokage-sama, she said and took up position beside me. That was most likely Yugo. I looked at her for a second before clicking my teeth. You're probably a bitch too, I said. Her arm instantly shot out and clocked me across the face, making me fall over to the other side of the chair. I suggest you don't make light of her, Sasuke, Kakashi said mirthfully. Rolled over to look at him. Heh, I chuckled and swallowed the blood in my mouth. I don't like to spit unless it's in a sink. If anything, she's an even bigger bitch than you, dickhead, I said with a smirk. Though it'd be a close competition, I reckon, I said, rocking around and slowly getting to my feet. You kicked me in my face, but she punched me while I was tied up. I hopped over to my chair and sat down beside her, not showing a hint of fear. I knew they can't kill me, so I'm really not too scared. Like it's obvious that both of you are shit-eating, cocksucking cowards, I said with as malicious a smile as I could show, but I don't know who's the bigger cunt. I looked at Kakashi. The ex-ANBU captain who kicked his own genin in the head. I looked at Yugao, or the current ANBU bitch who punched a tied-up genin in the face. I looked at the Hokage who was looking at me emotionlessly. Hey Hokage-sama, I bet even pigeons fly upside down over these two cause there's nothing worth shitting on. I said and started laughing as I felt the killing intent roll of both the victims of my insults. Enough, the Hokage roared and even I was surprised enough to stop laughing. Sasuke, you are in a very precarious situation right now, he said. Okay, I replied. De FAQ you want me to do about that? Ibiki here, he gestured to the man in the long dark cloak with a hard-ass look on his face, will ask you a few questions that will decide your innocence. Looked at Ibiki for 5 seconds before speaking. This guy looks like he wakes his alarm clock up in the morning. Ha! A collective sigh from everyone, even the ANBU filled the room. Just get to it, Ibiki, Hiruzen said. Yes, Hokage-sama, Ibiki replied. He moved to stand in front of me and looked down from his towering position. Ah, yes, I said, rolling my eyes. The tower over your prisoner so he feels intimidated tactic. How original. First of all, Ibiki started, ignoring my previous comment. You stated that you believed Konoha's justice system to be a joke. Why is that? He asked. Should I just say everything I know about Danzo? If they ask me how I know it, I can just say that Itachi told me everything before he left. Or maybe I shouldn't, since Itachi is still loyal to the village and they could just cross-examine the information. And I'm sure they'd believe him over me. Yeah, let's just make an excuse. Because the Hokage is a dictator, and he dictates who dies and who gets to live. There is no justice in that. Konoha's so-called justice system is a massive fucking joke, I said, staring into Ibiki's eyes. Behind him, I heard the Hokage sigh. Very well. You are entitled to an opinion. Next question, your personality differs greatly from the Academy Sensei's reports. Why is that? 'Cause they're idiots. They just didn't know when to observe and probably only saw me on my sad days, I said. Ibiki raised an eyebrow as if to say, really? That's the best you got, and I merely shrugged. We both know that is not true, Ibiki said. Who are you? He asked. My name is Sasuke Uchiha. Genin, Konoha Armed Forces. Serial number 012606, I replied without hesitation. Ibiki breathed in deeply and exhaled in frustration before turning to Hiruzen. Hokage-sama, I think we may have to call in Inoichi-san, he said, and that was finally when I felt a hint of fear. The Hokage nodded and the air in the room shifted minutely, signaling the departure of one of the ANBU, leaving to summon the Yamanaka clan head. This is your last chance, kid, Ibiki said. Spill the truth now, or let it be revealed by a mind walker. If I don't say anything now, then the absolute truth will be revealed by the mind walk? I asked. That's right, Ibiki answered with a smile, thinking that he got me. PSH, then rather than speaking now and letting you guys keep suspecting me, I might as well just wait for the mind walker creep to arrive and clear everything up, I said nonchalantly. No one said or even showed a hint of anything, but I could feel the disbelief. I turned to the ANBU again. And you? I said. Unlike the previous one, she looked at me. You're a bitch and I hope you get fucked by a fish. After a few long minutes, I finally heard a knock on the door. Come in, the Hokage said, and Inoichi Yamanaka walked in. You summoned me, Hokage-sama, he asked as he stood beside my chair. Yes, Inoichi. Thank you for reporting promptly. I have a subject for you to mind walk, the Hokage said and gestured to me with his hand. Inoichi looked at me and his eyes widened in surprise. I don't know if it was because of the sight of me bound and shirtless, or because of the bandages on my face that Kakashi had wrapped. Injuries, courtesy of the bitchy ANBU. Yo, I said with a smile that shot pain all throughout my face. Hokage-sama. Inoichi began, not knowing what to say. Sasuke-kun here is under suspicion of espionage and treason. As such, I need you to investigate his mind as soon as possible, the Hokage said with a no-nonsense tone of voice. Sadly for him, I didn't give a shit whether he wanted nonsense or not. You know that's bullshit. I yelled. Bitchface, there is just shitting bricks, 'cause I spit some harsh truths that the man needed to hear, I said, gesturing to Kakashi. Oh, and did I mention you're a dickhead? 'Cause you are. A big, pink, swollen dickhead, I said to Kakashi, adding it just for good measure. One thing I definitely admire is how colorful your vocabulary is, replied Kakashi with his eye smile. Suck my balls. I retorted. The Hokage interrupted me before I could say anything more than that. Inoichi, he said to the speechless Jonin. Please start with your mind walking before things get out of hand. Again. Oh, of course, Hokage-sama, Inoichi said and tried to put his hand on my head. You do that, and I swear to God it will be the last thing that you will ever do in your life, I said in a quiet, calm, matter-of-factly voice. You will see things you wish you never did. I swear on my life, you will not come out of this unscathed. I wasn't saying this because I feared he'd find out who I was. I was saying this out of genuine concern. Even though I'm an asshole sometimes, it doesn't mean I'll take pleasure in killing a comrade. But if he doesn't heed my warning, I swear on my life, I'll make sure he becomes a vegetable. Inoichi's hand paused. What is in your mind that is so traumatizing, Sasuke? The Hokage asked. I cannot say. All I can do is promise you, it will not be a nice journey, I replied. Inoichi looked at the Hokage for further instructions. Hiruzen stared at me and I stared back at him, our gazes unwavering. A minute later, the Hokage nodded. Continue, Inoichi. Clenched my jaw. I didn't like what I was about to do, but if I don't follow through with my promise/threat, they'll never take me seriously. Inoichi put his hand on my head and ran through some one-handed signs and said, Psycho Denshin, and I felt my world go dark. I immediately dug through Sasuke's memories as deep as possible to remember his memories of Itachi's Tsukuyomi. After what could have been minutes or maybe even hours, the world finally cleared up. Looked up at the blood-red sky and felt like it was the most beautiful thing I had ever laid my eyes upon. The pitch-black clouds that dotted the crimson expanse were like portals to hell itself. I heard a small gasp from behind me and turned around to see Inoichi standing there, eyes wide in disbelief. I looked down at my hands and clothes and found them to be the same as Sasuke. Alright, now that I don't need to worry about becoming my former self in my mindscape, let's proceed with the performance. Welcome, Inoichi-san, I said with a wide smile and a mocking bow as if I was an actor in a play. My devious grin was one that would even put Orochimaru's to shame. To hell. I gestured to the scene behind me. Enjoy the show, I said and turned back around to watch it. Inoichi walked slowly to stand beside me, his feet dragging as if held down by some invisible weight. This. He tried to say. This is the night of the bloody fountains, I finished for him and watched in silence as Itachi began his dance of death. He moved like a butterfly, tearing through body after body. Shuriken ripped through arteries. Kunai embedded themselves into innocent hearts. Swords cleaved through brains. Horrendous genjutsu made children tear their own eyes out. Mothers shielded their children from the crazed Anbu's wrath, only for both of them to be run through with his sword at once. One brave soul wove through hand signs for a katan jutsu, only to find his hands reduced to stumps in a flash. Child peeked out of a closet and found a woman's head come rolling towards her. Her own scream of terror was instantly silenced by a tanto ramming down into her. The cries of men, women, and children filled the red sky, as intricate fountains of fresh, hot blood erupted and decorated the walls of shops and homes alike. An orchestra of screams, a rain of tears, a river of blood, it continued on, until it didn't. And then, it repeated. Again. And 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 again. No. Stop. Stop it. Inoichi screamed as he dropped to his knees. He weaved some signs to stop the jutsu, but his efforts were futile. No, he screamed. His hands were gripping his ears while his eyes were clenched hard as if shut out reality itself. But the Tsukuyomi penetrated directly into the watcher's brain. 518,400 times the scene repeated itself. And by the end, Inoichi was lying limp on the floor of my mindscape, a cold, dead look in his eyes. His eyelid flickered a little bit as the scene didn't begin again, but instead, a clearing in a forest with black grass, white glowing trees, and the same blood-red sky as the Tsukuyomi faded into view. But I couldn't allow that. I had warned him, but he didn't listen. Now reap what you sow, I thought. We're not done yet, Inoichi-san, I said with a sweet sing-song voice. In the back of my mind, I realized that my eyes probably looked similar to his. Crazed, as if tainted by death itself. Dug through my own memories. All the most violent scenes I had watched resurfaced. I dug up all the videos that I watched throughout my life on Bestgore, the iBleck subreddit, LiveLeak, Sedit.net, and played it one by one in a long compilation of pure blood and death. Inoichi's breathing labored as he didn't even have the energy to move anymore. I wasn't afraid that some things in the video might reveal that I'm not from this world. He barely had the capacity to breathe. I doubted if he would even be in a functioning state after this was over. As the long torturous session came to an end, I felt myself being forcefully pulled outwards. My eyes opened, and in front of me, I saw Inoichi standing still as a statue. "Did you like it, Inoichi-san?" I asked with a tired smile as 5 days of mental stress hit me at once. After all, 72 hours of Tsukuyami torture, plus a 2 days long traumatizing compilation, all smushed into a span of just a second really takes a toll on your body and mind. Looked up at him, barely struggling to keep my eyes open at all, and saw his eyes slowly roll back into his head. Like a puppet with his strings cut, Inoichi immediately collapsed to the floor and 2 ANBU were by his side, already administering first aid. "Ha, I told you so," I said, keeping a smile plastered on my face. "Any weakness I show here will be taken advantage of. I couldn't afford to slip up. Not now." "Sasuke. What the hell did you do to him?" Kakashi asked from behind me. Scanned the room with tired eyes and saw the Hokage standing just a couple of meters away from me, looking at me with an angry expression. Ibiki was with the ANBU now, trying to see what was wrong with Inoichi while Anko was back in the room standing beside the Hokage's desk. Kakashi was behind me with a kunai to my throat, and the ANBU Yugo was still standing in her previous spot. "I let him see my memories, Kakashi," I said with a relaxed voice. Of course, that wouldn't be enough of an answer for them, so I decided to give them something more. "Do you know what Itachi did to me on the night of the massacre?" I asked and waited for a reply. Seeing as how no one answered, I decided to tell them. "He used his Manjikyu Sharingan ability and put me in a genjutsu, making me watch the entire night's massacre again, and again, and again." I yelled, not even realizing how loud my voice had gotten by the end of my sentence. I calmed myself again. 518,400. That's how many times I saw my clan and family being slaughtered like pests by the one person I looked up to the most. I turned my head up and back, looking from Hiruzen's wide-eyed expression to Kakashi. So that's what he saw in my head. Don't blame me, I warned you guys beforehand. Everyone in the room looked at a loss for words for a while before the Hokage started barking out orders. "ANBU, take Inoichi to the hospital and get him immediate medical attention," he said, and the 2 ANBU disappeared with Inoichi. "Kakashi, stand down," the Hokage ordered, and I felt the cold touch of the kunai leave from my throat. "Thanks," I said. Hokage kept his stern visage and went back to sit down behind his desk. "Now Sasuke-kun," he said to me in a tired voice. I believe this had dragged on long enough. "I agree," I replied. "So now we are going to do this the simple way. I will ask you one question. If you lie, or if I suspect you are lying, I will cut you down on the spot." "Uchiha clan heir be damned," Hiruzen said, and I blinked in surprise. "And if I think you are saying the truth, you will be free to go home. Do you understand?" Stayed silent for a long minute, just staring at the Hokage with as much hate as I could muster. Finally, I looked at Kakashi. "I told you Konoha's justice system is a fucking joke," I said. "And you?" I said, looking at the Hokage and leaning forward so that he was completely focused on me. "Where? Was this version of you when Naruto was growing up, huh?" I asked, and relished in his utterly confused look. "Where was this strict Hiruzen Sarutobi when Naruto's education was being stunted by the Academy Sensei? Where were you when he was denied the very basic of necessities from stores all throughout the village? Where were you when all the people in this shithole hated the boy that they should be worshipping? Where were you when he cried himself to sleep every night because of your inaction? Where were you then, you fucking hypocrite? Oh, look at me, I'm Hiruzen Sarutobi. I care so much about everyone in THI's village. I'm going to make a LAWTHETNO ONEIS allowed to speak of the Kyuubi, but I'll still let everyone hate Naruto. Oh, the will of fire burns brightly, I said in the most sarcastic voice ever. Bullfucking shit, you shriveled up of pigeon-livered swine. Will of fire my ass. You don't believe in the will of fire. No, you believe in only what is advantageous for you. And before you ask me, Naruto himself told me and Sakura about his secret. Tell me, Hokage-sama, I said, just like how I call Kakashi-sensei. Did you tell Naruto that the Uzumaki clan is the cousin clan of the Senju? Hell, did you even tell Naruto that he was a part of a clan? You know how much he yearns for someone he can call family, and you still let him suffer in isolation. Why huh? I asked. I saw the Hokage slowly open his mouth to answer, but I quickly interrupted him. Let me answer that for you. It's because you want him to be loyal to you and not the village. It's because you're afraid that one day he'll see what you did and reject you. And this is not even the tip of the iceberg. If I were to recount every single selfish action you took, we'd be here all week. You know what? In the end, you're no better than. I stopped myself from saying Danzo's name. It wouldn't do me any good to reveal any more than this. I calmed myself and spoke in a level voice. Instead of my loyalty being questioned, it should be you who's in my position. As for your previous question, yes, I understand. Ask away, I finished and sat there, glaring at the man who could end my life in less than a second. In the silence that followed, I took a look around the room. Anko had her eyes and mouth both wide open in surprise. Kakashi and Ibiki kept glancing between me and the Hokage, and the ANBU looked just as emotionless as ever. I heard a sigh and looked toward the source of the sound. The Hokage rested his forehead on his hands for a second before looking back at me. Do you hold any ill intentions toward Konoha, its people, and/or its interests, Sasuke Uchiha? He asked, and the ANBU put two of her fingers to my neck to check my pulse and tell whether I'm lying or not. No, I do not, I answered. My goal is to make sure that one day Konoha stands on top as the strongest shinobi village in the world. I was not lying at all, and as such, I did not need to fear anything. Heard a rustle and saw the ANBU nod from the corner of my eye. Very well. Sasuke Uchiha, you are dismissed. Lynx, please drop him off at his house, the Hokage said. Don't bother. Just untie me and take the seal from my forehead off. I'll walk home, I replied with a scowl before the ANBU could say anything. Within a few seconds, with the Hokage's approval, the ANBU had untied me and taken the seal off. I opened the door to leave the office and turned around at the last moment. You're still a dickhead, I said, pointing at Kakashi. And you're still a bitch, I said, pointing at the ANBU. Instantly, I saw two shurikens come flying at my face, though I stood my ground. They were flying pretty slow, and I could have easily dodged them if I wanted to, yet I stood still. If she thinks she can intimidate me, I'll prove her wrong. Disturbing squelch sounded as the two deadly weapons embedded themselves solidly into my torso. The force of the throw made me step back a bit. It wasn't too deep, but it sure was painful as hell. Though, it kept my eyes on the ANBU. She abruptly took a step back and slowly looked back at the Hokage as if unsure of what just happened, and then looked back at me. I raised my arm to pull out the two shurikens from my body. I wanted to look badass but then quickly realized I'll probably die of blood loss, but stopped myself as a better idea hit me. I stuck out a thumb in a thumbs up pose and smiled. Thanks for the free weapons, I said, smiling, and left the Hokage's office, closing the door behind me before any of them could say anything. Walked down the main street of Konoha toward the Uchiha clan compound. To say this night was crazy would be one hell of an understatement. It wasn't pleasant, but I truly hoped that this would bring about some major changes in our day-to-day life. The Sandame's complacency has gone on long enough. Ugh, I groaned, as my bare feet dragged on the rough ground and the chilly biting wind pushed against my naked upper body. Add on top of that the two shurikens that were still lodged in my torso, plus the punches that I took from Yugao, and I just got the perfect mix for excruciating pain. Kakashi was a jounin, and a good one at that. Maybe even the best, right below the Hokage himself. An elite jounin, as some may like to call him. Not only that, but he was also a genius. A child prodigy competing with the likes of Minato Namikaze, the fourth Hokage. As a result, there weren't many if any at all things in life that confused him. But now, as ashamed as he was to admit it, Kakashi was confused. No wait, that was an understatement. He was bewildered. Kakashi Hatake, who never got confused, was absolutely gobsmacked. Reason? Sasuke Uchiha. It all began on the day of the team assignments. Kakashi was sitting in the ceiling of Irika's classroom, quietly observing his team to be. It was exactly as the academy reports had stated. Blondie was loud, dumb, and obnoxious. Pinky was a vain fangirl. Pink Eye was Brood McBroodyface. Nothing out of the ordinary, until the Uchiha had spoken. Self-centered, arrogant little fuckhead, Sasuke said, so quietly that Kakashi almost missed it. He raised an eyebrow in confusion, wondering why Sasuke was describing himself and where he learned that last word from. Instantly, Naruto was offended as expected. The blonde thought the world revolved around him, but it was what followed that surprised Kakashi the most. Sasuke's reaction was abrupt and violent, almost as if Sasuke had completely forgotten where he was. He looked at Naruto with a confused look before widening his eyes in surprise. He looked around as if in disbelief and then finally at the window before muttering, "No fucking way," and then sighing in resignation as the pink-haired girl Sakura, was it, asked him what was wrong. The next event that surprised Kakashi was when Sasuke had said he was looking forward to working with Naruto. As soon as Naruto had voiced his objection at the team formation, Sasuke had smiled at Naruto and Kakashi had instantly pulsed his chakra once to dispel any genjutsu. "Naruto, I look forward to working with you," Sasuke had said, and Naruto had somehow taken that as a challenge. Kakashi narrowed his eyes at Sasuke's new personality. It was almost as if he did a complete 180. Kakashi sighed quietly and shook his head, deciding to finally go meet his new team when the new Enigma started speaking again. His eyes got wider and wider in surprise as Sasuke described perfectly what each of their strengths and weaknesses was. For the first time in almost 10 years, Kakashi brought his hand up to scratch his head in confusion. The last time this had happened was when Minato was explaining to him why toads were better than dogs. "Why are you helping and being nice now? You weren't like this before," Naruto asked, and Kakashi listened keenly for Sasuke's answer. "Life happened, Naruto," he answered, and Kakashi commended Sasuke's ability to tell the truth without telling the truth. Like a true shinobi. Kakashi pushed off the floor and stood up, deciding to confront his team now. Kakashi's eyelid twitched and he had a feeling it was something that was going to happen awfully often now. "Yeah, my bad, I had to help an old granny with her groceries," Sasuke said when Kakashi called out his lateness. The Jounin didn't know how to reply to that, so he merely settled for "I see," and moved on to introductions. Once again, Naruto and Sakura's introductions were exactly what he expected. It was when Sasuke had finally said his piece that Kakashi knew the boy had lost it. He liked training, fair enough, any half-decent shinobi should like to train, and sex. What the hell? Kakashi thought. And little shit was smiling like a devil. It was when Sasuke declared his future plans without even mentioning Itachi once was when Kakashi concluded, he's lost it. By all means, he should have reported this to the Hokage earlier. Maybe even as early as when he first sensed a change in Sasuke's demeanor. Maybe when Sasuke said he liked training and sex. Maybe when he knowingly showed up late to the bell test. Maybe when he had made the connection between Minato, Kushina, and Naruto. Maybe when he had started blatantly showing attitude and disrespecting Kakashi. But now, he realized, he should definitely report this to the Hokage. Not only because of what Sasuke said before the wave mission, but also because he was, in the Uchiha's own words, a potential flight risk. So now, he had stayed back with the Hokage after his and Guy's debriefing. "Go ahead, Kakashi," the Hokage said with a nod from where he was seated behind his massive oak table. "Hokage-sama," Kakashi said. "I believe Sasuke Uchiha is a flight risk and/or an enemy agent and needs to be brought in for interrogation." The Hokage blinked slowly as he let his top Jounin's words sink in. "Why do you say that?" the Hokage asked, bewildered beyond belief. Before it became this serious, Kakashi should have come to him with his concerns. Exclaiming that Sasuke Uchiha was a flight risk all of a sudden? What in the world happened on this one mission? I believe I should start from the very beginning, Hokage-sama, Kakashi said, and the old man nodded. Yes, perhaps you should, he said. It began when I was spying on my team during the team assignments. Kakashi began and explained his tale of his students' wild behavior. And that's why I suspect Sasuke Uchiha to be guilty of high treason, espionage, sabotage, and attempted terrorism, and I believe we should bring in Ibiki for the interrogation also, Kakashi ended. The Hokage sat in silence, staring at Kakashi for a minute before speaking. And you didn't think to report this earlier, why? He asked. From what Kakashi described, not only was Sasuke a flight risk, but also had knowledge more than any genin, no matter how smart, should have. Knowing that Kakashi was an ex-ANBU captain, figuring out the relation between Naruto and the Yondaime, and also figuring out the Kyuubi secret. The Hokage held no doubt that Sasuke had figured it out already. He had told Kakashi that he had theories only to play with his words. Truly, Sasuke was a genin of great concern at this moment. Well, I thought I could get him under control soon, Hokage-sama, Kakashi said with an ashamed look. Ha! The old man sighed. Tora, Kagura, the Hokage called, and 2ANBU instantly appeared, kneeling beside him. Tora, go with 2 squads and bring Sasuke Uchiha here. Kagura, fetch Ibiki and Anko, and if possible, brief them on the way here, he commanded, and the 2ANBU disappeared. Why Anko? Kakashi asked curiously. I was contemplating instating Konoha's seduction division as its own separate one, and naming her in charge. This will be a good experience for her, the Hokage said, and Kakashi nodded. Within a couple of minutes, the 2 top TNI operatives of Konoha stood in front of the Hokage. Ibiki, Anko, I've summoned you here to interrogate Sasuke Uchiha, who is deemed a flight risk. I take it you've been briefed by Kagura? Hiruzen asked, and both Ibiki and Anko replied with an affirmative. Very well. The ANBU should be here with Sasuke any minute, the Hokage said, and Kakashi, Ibiki, and Anko took up positions beside him. 5 minutes passed and Anko's patience had finally run out. Where are they? She asked no one in particular. Knowing him, he probably resisted, Kakashi said. Not 2 seconds later, an ANBU flickered in with a bound, gagged, shirtless, barefooted Sasuke, who was glaring murderously at the ANBU, and dropped him on the chair. A pin-drop silence blanketed the office. Ahem, the Hokage said, breaking everyone out of their stupor. Sasuke tore his eyes away from the masked shinobi and looked at the 4 people in front of him. INH, fun fufen gun. Fun on a OUMMH Mafa, he said immediately. All 4 shinobi formed a sweat drop at the sight and the clear sound of at least 3 swear words. He resisted, Hokage-sama, the ANBU said, explaining the reason for Sasuke's condition. At the Hokage's orders, he engaged him and the interrogation began. The office stayed enveloped in an eerie silence following the departure of the Uchiha. Mostly because of the disbelief that had spread through everyone seeing Sasuke tank 2 shurikens to the torso and still joke about it and leave. Not to mention the blatant disrespect he showed to the most powerful man in the country. Anko, the Hokage said after a long while. Hi, Hokage-sama, Anko answered, suddenly being pulled out of her thoughts. You seem conflicted, he said, having sensed how turbulent her chakra had felt and the minor fidgeting motion of her hands. I was just thinking, Anko said, stuttering and floundering for words. I see, the Hokage nodded. Ibiki Anko, whatever you heard tonight is to stay completely off the books. Think of it as an unofficial state secret. I do not want anyone to hear about this. You're dismissed, he said. By your leave, Hokage-sama, they said in unison and exited the office. Weary sigh escaped the aged leader immediately. Kakashi, the Hokage said. What do you think? About what, Hokage-sama? Kakashi asked. About Sasuke-kun's rant. Silence ensued for a moment and the Hokage allowed his jounin the time he needed to think. Honestly, I do not know what to think, Kakashi replied. I am just as much to blame, if not more so, as anyone else for the neglect in Naruto's childhood. I imagine I would have been like Naruto's surrogate brother had Minato-sensei and Kushina-san survived. But I was too cooped up in grief and self-pity to even notice his son, his legacy, suffering, he said, voice dripping with self-loathing. I don't think I deserve to judge anyone for their actions when I couldn't put the well-being of a child ahead of my emotions. And you, Lynx, the Hokage asked. What are your thoughts on the matter? I remain Konoha's humble servant, Hokage-sama, she said without a waver in her voice. That is commendable, Hiruzen said. But take off your mask. I'd like to know what Yugo Yuzuki thinks. The ANBU slid her mask off and revealed a beautiful face with two striking honey-colored eyes. Permission to speak freely, Hokage-sama, she asked with a bow. Granted, came the reply. I believe Uchiha-kuin's argument is very hard to disagree with. I strongly condemn how he expressed his emotions, but disregarding that, he brought up some very solid and logical points, Yugo said, ready to be admonished by the Hokage. Instead, she was surprised when he merely nodded with his eyes closed. Also, Hokage-sama, about the violence I inflicted on Uchiha-kun. She tried to say but was instantly waved off by the Hokage. Do not fret. Those were my orders. You will be exempt from any legal actions he tries to take against you, Hiruzen said. He went for a long while before speaking. Perhaps, I have been in this seat for too long now, he said, and both Kakashi and Yugo were at a loss for words. I believe that as Minato's last wish, the populace would treat Naruto like a hero. Or at least a normal child. I hoped that our people would not be as blind to hate as the other villages. I had faith that the will of fire burned brightly in the hearts of our citizens. Kakashi chuckled. The will of fire, huh? Hiruzen raised his head. Is there anything you'd like to say? He asked Kakashi, daring him to go on. The copy ninja opened his mouth to say something before clicking it shut. No, Hokage-sama. If I did, I'd be considered a hypocrite, he said. Do not forget what we fight for, Kakashi. And the values and ideals that this village was built upon. Konoha as a collective might have done wrong by Naruto, but one mistake doesn't make everything else pointless, the Hokage said. What exactly is the will of fire, Hokage-sama? Hiruzen stared at Kakashi for a second before reciting exactly what his sensei Otobaramas had told him. Everyone that resides in Konoha, be they civilians or shinobi, are like a family that come together to fight off any and all threats, be they foreign or domestic. That is what we fight for, he said, not knowing whether he even believed his own words anymore. And what category from that does Naruto fall into? Family? Foreign threat? Or a domestic threat? Kakashi asked in a more venomous tone than he intended. The Hokage sighed once more, looking older than he ever did. What do you want me to say, Kakashi? The truth. The truth is that I made some mistakes, and I regret them very much now. Then why haven't you done anything to fix it? Kakashi almost yelled, wishing for nothing more than to ask for Minato's advice. Sensei was always there for him when he needed him the most. But nothing lasts forever. You haven't either, Hiruzen said, reminding the copy ninja of his own flaws. You're right, Kakashi said. And you can bet that as soon as I meet my team tomorrow morning, I will be making amends. Will you? I cannot force the populace to love him. You don't need to. Then what else can I possibly do? How about telling Naruto the truth? About everything. At this age, the least he deserves is to know about his own family and heritage, Kakashi said, making the Hokage wince. I don't know if he can keep a secret like that, Hiruzen debated but stopped at the disbelieving stare he received from Kakashi. He kept the Kyuubi a secret from both his teammates for this long. You really think he can't keep his heritage a secret? Kakashi asked. Hiruzen sat in silence for a moment. I will think about it, he said finally, and Kakashi sighed, contemplating the punishment he'd get for telling Naruto about this himself. For now, the two of you are dismissed, he said to Yugo and Kakashi. Yugo saluted and disappeared instantly. Kakashi merely nodded and opted to use the door. Before he was out, the Hokage gave one last order. Give your team a week-long break. They'll need it. Especially Sasuke. Understood, Kakashi said and left, leaving the old man to his own thoughts for the night. Hey, kid, I heard from behind me. I turned around to see Anko standing there, staring at me with a sympathetic look in her eyes. Decided to humor her. What's up, Anko? She looked surprised. You know my name, she asked. To be honest, I was way too tired, and in way too much pain to give a shit about my slip-up. Nah, I just guessed. You look like an Anko, I said, rolling my eyes. No shit, I know your name. Anyway, what's up? What do you want? I asked quickly while trying to sound irritated before she could ask what I meant by guessed. She looked at me in disbelief before shaking her head slightly. You looked like you could use some help. You know, with 2 weapons embedded into you and whatnot, she said. Huh? Well, damn. Now I feel like a dickhead for snapping at you, I said, scratching the back of my head. I probably shouldn't let my emotions dictate how I talk to innocent people from now on. Quickly making a note of that, I said, thanks for offering, but I'm good, I think. Anko raised her eyebrows. Yeah, no. That's 2 lethal weapons you've got in you. You definitely need to get that looked at, kid. And I will, I replied. Just not at the hospital. Then where? Dunno yet, I said, and turned around to continue home. Oh, and the name's Sasuke. Not kid. Felt a strong hand grip my shoulder, making me wince as a few bruises around the area hurt. You'll be dead before you get home, Sasuke. If not because of blood loss, then because of secondary infections, probably. You need a doctor, Anko said from behind me. Huh? Who the hell does she think she is? Does she think I can't take this much? My thoughts cut off there as another huge wave of pain washed over me. Shit, maybe she's right. But I really don't want to go to the hospital. I don't know why, but I feel like if I go there, they'll never let me out. My only option was to go to Naruto's place, which was only a block from here. Sakura's home was farther, but still not as far as the Uchiha clan compound. Let me go, I said, shrugging her off. I'm not going home. Don't worry. Then where are you going? Don't worry about it, I said and kept walking, with legs that got heavier with each step. I gritted my teeth and fought through the exhaustion of reliving the Tsukuyomi, the ANBU beating, and the foreign objects in my torso. It was only when I came to a stop at the base of the stairs that led to Naruto's apartment that I realized I was hearing 2 sets of footsteps this whole time. I glanced back tiredly and saw Anko standing there, gazing at me with worried eyes. Why are you still following me? I asked, slightly thankful that she was there. Not that I'd let her know I was. To get you professional medical attention when you keel over, she said, sounding angry. Anko, I said, drawing her full attention. Thank you, but you really don't need to. Did the Hokage order you to follow me or something? I asked with a small amount of suspicion. I mean, it makes sense that he would. No, the Hokage didn't send me, she said. And I'll be the one to decide whether I need to follow you or not. Chuckled at her bullheadedness and started climbing the stairs, each breath and groan sending waves of excruciating pain all through my body. Nearly stumbling outside his apartment, I knocked loudly on Naruto's door. Naruto! I called out and waited. Hearing nothing from inside, I knocked again but realized that I barely had any energy left and my knocks were too weak. Shit, I muttered. Just as I was about to lift my leg to kick the door, Anko reached over from behind me and knocked hard. If he doesn't answer, I'm taking you to the hospital, she said, sounding like she meant every word. Smiled. The thought of someone caring for me, even if it was by order of the Hokage, warmed me. Heard footsteps from beyond the door, and a second later, the door was thrown open. A sleepy Naruto stood there, rubbing his eyes. Immediately reached over and flicked him in the forehead as hard as I could. Ow! Naruto yelled, becoming fully awake. What the hell, team? Why did you open the door right away? I said, trying to sound angry. What would you have done if I was a burglar or someone who wanted to kill you, huh? Naruto went quiet, his mouth forming an O. Anyway, I said quickly before he could reply. I need a couple of favors. Can I crash here for tonight? I asked, gesturing to myself. His eyes panned down, over my naked upper body, and any lingering sleep instantly disappeared from them. What the hell happened to you? He screamed, and I winced as the loud volume hit me like a truck. Long story, I said, waving him off. Listen, can you please just go get Sakura for now? And let me rest on your sofa? I would have gone to her house directly, but yours was closer, and honestly, I barely have the energy to stand right now. Why yeah, hold on, let me just put on some sandals right now. Naruto said urgently. He ushered me in and only just now noticed Anko. Who are you? He asked her. Anko Mitarashi. Tokubetsu Jounin. Serial number 011226, she said absently and followed me into Naruto's apartment. Naruto said, confused at the situation right now. I mean, who wouldn't be? But I cut him off before he could say anything. Naruto, I need Sakura. Now. I yelled out. Got it, he yelled back and disappeared into the hallway. You know, I could patch you up myself if you really didn't want to go to the hospital. You didn't have to send him to get her, Anko said to me once we were alone. Was laid down on the sofa and Anko had pulled up a chair and was sitting beside me. She kept two of her fingers on my wrist, constantly monitoring my pulse. That would defeat the entire purpose of me taking these shurikens, I said. It wasn't the truth, but it wasn't a complete lie either. And what was the purpose, exactly? She asked. This way, I could let my teammate get some experience as a medic. By treating my wounds in a relatively safe environment, she can not only get used to the sight of wounds and blood but also start getting experience of working under pressure, I explained. Anko looked at me with wide eyes and raised eyebrows. I smirked at her reaction. You alive in there? I asked as the silence stretched on. You really care a lot for your team, huh? She asked with a small smile. They're the closest thing to a family I've got, I said as I shrugged, looking away from her and towards the ceiling of Naruto's apartment. Then why do you hate Kakashi? She asked. I don't hate him, I answered. Anko snorted. Well, you sure have me fooled, then. Sighed, not wanting to go through this again. I swear on my life, I don't hate him. Dislike him? Yes. Then why do you treat him with such blatant disrespect? Because of his incompetence. Out of the corner of my eye, I could see Anko staring at me as if I was an idiot. You're calling Kakashi Hatake, the A-rank shinobi feared by almost half the ninja in this world, incompetent. Whether the Hokage sent Anko or not, whatever I say to her now will be reported to him. Now was my time to convey any messages I had for him. There was only one thing I wanted the Hokage to know. Don't fuck with me. And so, I began. I'm not calling him incompetent as a shinobi, but as a sensei, I explained to her just how I had explained to Naruto and Sakura. I understand that he lost his entire team and his sensei, but that was more than 12 years ago, damn it. How self-centered and arrogant do you have to be to think that you could protect your genin team from any and all dangers that they'll face in the future? Like, he literally didn't teach us anything. Not only that, but he also expected 3 genin, fresh out of the academy, to work together as a team while pitted against one another. I took a deep breath. And it's not only his fault either. Yes, he should get some help, counseling or therapy or whatever, and move on, but it's the Hokage's fault too for assigning a broken Jounin as a sensei to us. Hell, even a Chunin would be a better teacher than he is. I sighed and shook my head. It's even worse that I know the real reason the Hokage assigned him to us. And what's this real reason? Anko asked quietly. To keep us in check. Well, not Sakura, but Naruto and me. Naruto is a Jinchuriki, so that means Konoha can't possibly afford to lose him. And going by how he's been treated by the people here, it's a goddamn miracle he's still loyal. And me. Well, when I was in the academy, all I cared about was power. All I wanted was to kill Itachi. The Hokage probably thought of me as a flight risk and assigned Kakashi to me so that he can stop me or kill me in case I go missing, or to train me in the techniques of the Sharingan to satiate my thirst of power. What makes you so sure that this is the real reason? Thought for a second before shrugging once again. Call it a hunch. Anko hummed. You said that in the academy, all you cared for was power and all you wanted was to kill Itachi. Is it different now? On the night of the massacre, I asked my brother why he did it. He said, to test the limits of my ability. I shook my head. He was lying. I know why he really did it, and I can't even blame him for it. Like, yeah, he went way overboard by killing all the children too, but his heart was in the right place, I said. Looked at Anko and her eyes were wide as saucers. What? She yelled. What the hell do you mean, his heart was in the right place? Composing herself a little bit, she looked at me worriedly. He massacred your family. How can you possibly agree with what he did? I'm not agreeing with what he did. All I'm saying is that he had the right reason in his mind. What reason? Shook my head. I can't say. But eventually, this village will find out and hail him as a hero, I said. Anko looked flabbergasted. You do realize that if I tell the Hokage this, he'll ask you for the real reason. Don't tell him then, I said, looking at her with a smile. Anko chuckled. It doesn't work like that, Sasuke, she said. Just as I was about to ask how it did work, Naruto burst through the door with Sakura hot on his heels. Sasuke/Sasuke-kun. The two of them shouted at the same time. Calm down, I'm still alive. I said to them before noticing that Sakura looked like she had been dragged here half asleep, and still in her nightclothes. Hey Sakura. Cute pajamas. I said with a smile. Sasuke-kun. What happened? Sakura asked as she was by my side in an instant. Nothing much. Just a little altercation, I answered with a placating smile, hoping to calm her down. Nothing much. You have 2 shurikens in you, she said, actually sounding angry, and I smiled. Seeing her care that much about me, and actually care, not just fangirling over me, made me proud to call her a teammate. Well, it's a long story, to be honest. But for now, I didn't go to the hospital because I wanted you to get some experience treating wounds and injuries in a relatively safe environment first, instead of being thrown into the field and having to treat injuries while all hell broke loose around us, I explained, and that seemed to calm her down a little. Sakura still looked like she had something to say, but she held her tongue and nodded resolutely. Naruto, do you have a first aid kit? I asked. I knew he did. All of us had to carry the basic medic kit that was sealed in a scroll. Yeah. Let me just go get it, he said, and ran to his bedroom to find it. Sakura was on her knees beside me, slowly cleaning up around the first shuriken wound and applying first aid, while Naruto and Anko sat a couple of meters away, watching over me worriedly. Naruto, come here, I said. My voice came out weaker and raspier than I intended. Naruto hopped out of his chair and ran to be by my side. Yeah, what's up, Sasuke? He asked. I cleared my throat. Sometimes, on a mission, there'll be a situation where one person is wounded, one is applying first aid, and the third person will have to be on the lookout for, or defend from attackers. You'll be getting that experience right now too, I said to him. What? How? He asked, confused by my words as Anko looked at us suspiciously, no doubt having heard what I was saying. I have something I need to tell you about your family, but Anko might try to stop me, I told him. You need to make sure she doesn't interfere. Huh? Why? Naruto asked. Have some shadow clones stand guard around us while I'm speaking, I said, ignoring his question. Naruto looked from me to Anko, who was still seated and watching us with an inquisitive look. I don't think. Naruto. Now, I said forcefully, interrupting him. He paused for a split second before instantly making 3 shadow clones and sending them to surround us. Listen to me, Naruto. Your last name is Uzumaki, right? I said. Yeah, so, he asked me. Did you know that they're a clan? The Uzumaki clan, I told him. What? Not only that, I said as Sakura pulled out the first shuriken. I continued, hearing a small sorry from her. Not only that, but they are actually a cousin clan of the Senju, one of Konoha's founding clans. I heard that they specialize in sealing jutsu and were wiped out during the Second War by a coalition of IWA, Kumo, and Kiri forces. They requested assistance from Konoha, but we were too late and the entire clan was destroyed while the survivors fled to different places. Wait, Sasuke. The clone tried to say, but I continued. If you look at the memorial stone, you'll see another Uzumaki named Kushina Uzumaki. I thought she was your mother. I was going to tell you when I saw it, but Kakashi told me not to. I know that their defining trait is their bright red hair. That's all I've got for now, but I think you can find more info in the library and archives building. I finished and bit back another yell as Sakura pulled out the second shuriken. How do you know this? The clone asked, his eyes watering. I told you, the library, I lied skillfully. Why didn't you tell me earlier? He asked, sounding angry. Because I couldn't be sure and I didn't want to give you false hope. And you are sure now? No. Then what changed? I just don't give a shit anymore. I was just interrogated by the Hokage, Kakashi, 2 interrogators from T and I, one of which your clones are talking to right now, and was used as a punching bag by the ANBU. That's how I was injured, I said, and his eyes went wide. I don't give a shit if it's legal to tell you this or not. I just needed to tell you before they deem me unnecessary and kill me. What? Why would they kill you? The clone said, bewildered. Because I know more than I'm supposed to. Naruto sat there wide-eyed for a second before dispelling his clones. What the hell? He whispered with a traumatized look on his face. You okay, kid? Anko asked him with a raised eyebrow. Naruto stayed silent, looking as if he was contemplating his whole life. Anko didn't question any further and merely watched us curiously. Okay, done, Sakura said as she finished bandaging me. Thanks, Sakura, I replied with a small smile. Now do you want to tell me how this happened? She asked with a stern expression. I can't lie, I was impressed that she was unperturbed by my Sasuke's smile. I asked as I averted my eyes. Well, I brought my hand up to scratch my cheek. I trailed off as I realized what I was doing. Lying to her now will only break the trust between us. To build a stronger relationship, I have to tell her the truth. I'll tell you after Anko leaves, I said, gesturing to the special jounin sitting on the chair. Anko looked taken aback. What? Why? She asked. Because it's awkward that you were also there, saw the whole thing go down, and still didn't do anything to stop it from happening, I answered, shrugging my shoulders. It was the Hokage's orders. I can't go against that, she said, trying to justify her actions or rather, inaction. I don't care. You did nothing to stop them and merely stood by and watched as a person abused their authority and brutally assaulted an innocent person, I replied. Innocent? You were under suspicion of high treason, espionage, sabotage, and attempted terrorism, she said with a "Are you serious?" expression. Huh? All of Team 7 said at once. The Hokage said only treason and espionage. I replied, bewildered. Huh? Anko sighed. Yes, but you were under suspicion of much more. High treason because we thought you were selling Uchiha clan secrets to outsiders, espionage because we thought you were giving information about your team to enemies, and sabotage because we suspected you were trying to encourage your teammates to rebel against your sensei and Konoha. I wasn't allowed access to information about why you were suspected of terrorism. Moment of heavy silence passed as I tried to make sense of what just came out of Anko's mouth. Okay, I said and took a deep breath. What happened to the innocent until proven guilty law? I asked. I am 99.9% sure that law didn't exist. Do I care? Hell to the fucking no. Fake it till you make it. Huh? Was there a law like that? Anko asked. Yes. There was and still is, I answered quickly before she could try to remember anymore. You know what, Anko? I really appreciate that you watched over me till I got here, and I thank you very much for that, but can you please just leave and let me talk to my friends in private? I asked, trying to be as polite as possible. Anko merely shook her head in disbelief and stood up. Yeah, okay. Get well soon, kid, she said as she walked to the door. Thanks, I replied just as she stepped out and left. So? Where do you want me to start? I asked my two dumbstruck friends.
That's it for today. Remember to show your support to the creator of this story if you enjoyed it. If you would like more parts of the story to be uploaded, leave a comment and subscribe to get notified when the story continues. Bye-bye for now, and I hope that you all have a wonderful rest of your day.